Hey guys.
Hello.
Good, how are you? So as usual, we're gonna give it a few minutes. I'm just gonna type that in the chat. And I will be right back in the meantime, so feel free to mingle amongst yourselves.
Hey everyone, has the classes been started? Hey Pooja, are you there?
Hey, I think I heard from someone asking for me, or
Yeah, sure. On the site, so Narayan. Hey, Pooja, I just need to ask a small thing. Uh, I am doing presently Java right now. Like, I am presently doing the linked list portion right now. Attended some classes linked list as well. I just wanted to know that, I am from civil background, completed my bachelor's in 2021. I'm from India, basically. So, I just wanted to switch myself going in the front end direction, that is in web development. So, will it be a great decision? Like, I might do Java as well as front end both together.
yeah, so I think what we'll end up doing is that's a really good question. We'll try to do questions at the end just because if we start doing questions in the beginning, a bunch of people will start asking and then we won't be able to get started with the session. So just remind me again at the end of the session and then we can talk more about that. How about that?
Sure, sure, Pooja.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Yep, no worries. And we'll start in a minute. I'm just grabbing something, so I won't be on my laptop. But yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, so we can get started. So yeah, last time we asked you guys to send in your resumes because we wanted to do a resume roasting session. We've been doing data structures and algorithms for a while now, so we thought we would switch it up a little bit. And we thought we would get a few resumes, but a lot of you sent resumes over, and so we're super grateful. We'll try to get through all of them. But if not, maybe we'll do a second session in the future. So thanks for sending them over. One of the moderators, they also super grateful that he redacted, all your guys' personal information. So we can share, I can share my screen and show you guys how to make a great resume without exposing any of your, personal stuff. So any questions before we get started specifically about this session? Okay, awesome. Let's get started. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it. Okay, can you guys see the whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so before we get started, I just wanted to point out a couple of things that are really important. So I'm not a recruiter, obviously, but I've seen tons of resumes, and I've also been at career fairs as representing employers when I'm looking at other people's resumes. So there are a couple of things that stick out to me as a person, and then we also want to talk about the ATS machine, which actually goes and finds keywords on your resume. So the biggest thing when a recruiter looks at a resume is you want things to be very clear and concise. So usually at the top, you want to have your personal information. So it's very clear who you are, maybe what school you went to, if you're just out of school or you're currently attending school, or if you're in a boot camp, kind of what boot camp you're attending. Also, sometimes they look for GPA. Again, this is totally dependent on the company and if you've just graduated. And then also, your contact information, because if they like your resume, they need to be able to contact you. So the top will be more for personal information. Kind of the cream of the crop or the middle of the resume, that's going to have all of your experience and your skills. So, some people do it in two different ways where they'll have, I'll just write middle, experience and skills. Some people put their skills before their experience. Personally, I like to see the experience first, just because I think that's the most relevant, just so you can see what you've worked on before. And I think skills are great, but when you apply those skills in a workplace environment, that's the most important part. So having a chronological timeline of your experience and only relevant experience is super important. Now, within that experience, it's really important to be concise when you're describing what you did at your job or at your internship, and then also give keywords and impact here. So does anyone have any questions about this part?
I have a question. If someone is starting in the tech is like don't have any experience, what should he put there?
I think we have two people talking. I don't know if one of the moderators wants to mute the other person. Okay,
I was
awesome.
saying that if somebody is just starting in the tech and he doesn't have any experience in that background, so what should he put in the inside experience section?
Yeah, so in that case, I would do personal projects. So if you don't have experience, they are looking for you to have taken the initiative to make something on your own. So I would even have your own website to showcase a portfolio and have different apps that you've built, or have like a GitHub account where you have your apps, the source code kind of stored in your GitHub. So I think you really want to emphasize that aspect if you don't have actual experience working at a 9-to-5 job. Now, that being said, usually I like to fit everything onto one piece of paper, and some people feel differently about that. But if you have personal projects and you have experience and you have, a large skill set, sometimes it can be hard to fit all of that. So I would prioritize your experience, unless your personal projects had a really big impact. So that's the thing we want to focus on, impact. And this word comes up every day at work for me. It doesn't necessarily matter what you do if it doesn't have an impact on other people, right? So the experience you had at an internship, if you built an app that maybe impacted thousands of customers versus building a personal project that impacted just yourself, then, obviously the one that impacted thousands of customers is a little bit more important because you've built things to scale and you've understood how to actually work through the whole software development lifecycle. Now, that being said, someone asked, what if I don't have any experience? Then you want to make sure that you are building projects that are impacting others. So I would go and actually talk to people in your community or even some of your friends and try to figure out problems that other people are trying to solve and then build a solution for those people, have them test the solution, just so you can create your own user experience and your own case study. And that, again, will show that you take a lot of initiative to build things and also follow through and make sure that it's, usable for other people. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome, cool. And then skills, skills are kind of mostly your technical skills, but also your soft skills as well. So with technical skills, you'll usually be either a back-end engineer, front-end engineer, or you'll be full stack. And you can talk about the different languages you've used, the frameworks, and I'll actually put this here. It's your tech stack. You can also talk about leadership here. That's really important because I think people forget the soft skills sometimes, but when you're actually working on a team, you really want to know how to communicate with people and also resolve conflict. We won't just be coding or building things, you'll also be working with others to collaborate on that application. Any questions about skills?
How many language does it matter to know for the frameworks?
I think, did you say how many languages or frameworks matter
Like
to
some
have on?
people say like you need to know these many languages in your resume skills.
One. It's good to know one language, especially if you're just starting out. It's okay to have multiple languages, but if you have too many languages, to be honest, employers will sometimes start to suspect, like, how well do you actually know all of these languages? So between, I think, 1 to 3 is perfect. Just put your top 3 languages. And if you only know
Thing about
one,
that is many companies work in different languages or frameworks.
right, exactly. So with the great thing about software engineering is, number one, you're always learning something new. It's not like once you learn something, you become an expert at it and you can work on that thing for 20 years. The industry changes so fast. They're not looking for a specific language that you know. They're looking for the fact that you're able to problem solve. And knowing one language means that you'll be able to learn any other language, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've applied, like with Microsoft, I never really coded in C# ever. I never really used the .NET framework. I used it a little bit in one of my internships 5 years before that, but that's pretty much it. But they didn't ask me to go learn C# or learn the .NET framework or learn how to use Azure. They saw that, okay, I have experience with Java and Kotlin. So we assume that she's going to be able to learn how to pick up C#. And even my interview was in Java. So they didn't even make me code in the interview in C#. So as long as you know one language, but make sure you know that language really well. So a couple of sessions ago, I talked about how in the interview itself, sometimes it's not fair, but they expect you to know even like specific syntax. Whereas on the job, you can always Google specific syntax if you don't remember. But in the interview, they expect you to know one language. End-to-end. Okay, any other questions about the experience or the skills section?
No.
Okay, awesome. And then one more thing at the very end, I've done this in my resume too, just depending on how it looks. You also want to kind of use your intuition to see how things are formatted and how it looks. But sometimes at the end, I'll have all my personal information except my school at the top, and then I'll sometimes put my school at the end. I've done that in the past, and that actually works well. I actually I don't have my resume updated right now, but what I'll do is I'll update my resume and send it over to you guys. And if you want, you can also resume roast my own resume. So let's go ahead and look at some of these. So we're going to look at the first one. Okay. So before I start going through this, I want to show it to you guys, and I want to ask you what you think about it and what you think this person could improve on and what they've done well. So let's look at this. Languages known, Tamil, English, Hindi, German, beginner, and it's nice that they've put, that they're a beginner. Their school, their CGPA, higher secondary school, percentage, higher secondary school. They have their soft skills here, their area of interest, their experience, and then some of their projects, and then their honors, as well as their certifications. Yeah, sure. As in like computer science languages. Right. Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so let me write that down. Let's see if we can do split screen here. I don't think we need this anymore. Okay. Wow, maybe I shouldn't have used whiteboard for this. Okay. So doesn't have coding languages. Okay. What else do you guys see? All right, so entire GitHub profile, save space. Anything else that you guys see? No, I'm not sure how to remove this thing here. Okay, so if no one has anything else, we can go through this resume. So yes, so I would actually agree. We do need to add coding languages. So it's really great that this person has, 4 languages under their belt, and they might be a beginner at the 4th language, but that still is really great. Now, I would add programming languages instead. So I think, Jonathan, that was you that was speaking. That's one thing to add there. With soft skills, so actually, let's look at, kind of how it looks as a whole, right? So the first thing that you see is their education and then their experience. And again, as I said, your personal information can come first, and then you can kind of chronologically go down and do your experience and your skills. But here with the experience, it's a really small section. So that leads me to believe that they don't have a lot of experience, which again is okay. But there's ways to actually showcase that you've done a lot of work in the small internship that you have had. So here it says successfully wrote and published technical articles on the C and Python programming languages that were widely read and referenced by others in the field. So here, for example, there is no quantifiable impact. So remember when I talked about how impact is really important. So this person says that they were widely read and referenced by others in the field. I'm not sure what widely read means, if that makes sense. You want to have an actual number. So how many people read this? You could say, this reached an audience of 10,000 people, or even if it reached an audience of 200 people, that's great. That's a lot of people, right? You're impacting those 200 people. So I would again quantify this and then talk a little bit more about what technical articles you wrote. Like describe the technical articles. When you say on the C and Python programming languages, did you create an article about the language itself? Or did you talk about a project that was built using those languages? It's not entirely clear to me, so I would be a lot more descriptive in this section. And this section can take up a lot more room as well. With soft skills, I would say critical decision making, collaborative, initiative driven, and empathetic. These are great keywords, but I don't think it showcases who you are as a person. I think anyone can kind of just write these things down, but they're, again, not quantifiable. So, how do I measure that you're empathetic? How do I measure that you're initiative driven? All of these things should be shown in your projects. So if you are a critical decision maker, you can talk about, you can add another bullet point in your experience and talk about, this is what I did to make a critical decision. You're collaborative. You can say, you wrote and published these technical articles with 3 other people on the team. That'll show that you're collaborative. So instead of just listing out adjectives, you can actually describe how you embody those adjectives. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Any questions?
I see here that he doesn't talking about his project very much.
Someone wrote in the chat that projects aren't hosted online. Just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, projects aren't hosted online. So I think they have the link to their GitHub, which has some of their projects. Oh, you're saying not the source code, like it's literally deployed and hosted online so that a normal person can just use it. I'm assuming that's what that person meant. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that can show, and I do want to answer, there was someone else that was saying something right before that, and I think they were saying it about the projects as well. Yes, absolutely. So that's not necessarily a requirement, especially if you already have experience and you're going to a school. That's not always necessary that you have to deploy your applications. You can just have the source code listed on GitHub, and employers should be able to understand what's going on. Now, that being said, that's a nice to have. So if you do deploy it online, then yes, you can absolutely talk about that because, that means you do have an understanding of the software development lifecycle, how to deploy something, how to maintain it online, and how to have, track what users are doing on your website or on your application. So that being said, I'm going to go back to what I think Jonathan said this too, where they've listed out their GitHub links right underneath the name of their project. So it's great because yes, I can go to their GitHub account and check out what their project is about, but I'm looking at 1,000 resumes today, so I don't want to, if that makes sense. I know it's not always fair, but that's basically what's going on with recruiters. So you want to put yourself in their shoes. They don't have all the time in the world to look at resumes. They're going to look at resumes really quick. Now, if I see this, I may think, I don't have time to look at these 2 GitHub links. This is just like the initial round, and I don't know what these 2 projects are. So I'm not even going to count it when I'm assessing whether or not to push this person forward. So the GitHub link is really important when you become a final candidate. Then they're probably going to look closer at the work that you've done. But I would definitely describe what you've done in these projects, and then I would put your GitHub link at the end somewhere. Does that make sense? So with image classification, Harry Potter characters, again, talk about these soft skills. I created an application, or maybe with the book recommendation system, I solved a problem where people didn't know which books to read. So I wasn't, you were an empathetic person by going and doing a case study to find out what people were lacking in their lives, and this was something that was lacking. And so I went and built this book recommendation system. This shows that you're initiative driven. Try to use those quantifiable keywords and also talk about how many people you helped, or at least even if it was a couple of people, how much you impacted their lives. But yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I would add probably some leadership as well. So I think the one thing I will say, the volunteering, I think depends on if you're in college, because if this person is trying to show that they're empathetic, that's really important when we're building our apps too, because we want to think about the user always. So, the fundraising volunteer, I think that's okay. I think once you've had your first job, you don't have to put this stuff anymore, like Jonathan said. And yes, absolutely do not put any high school stuff. Unless you're a freshman that is getting an internship, then it's okay to put high school stuff, but usually you want to avoid that, because most of the learning has to come from your, university experience. And this is just for people that have gone to university and have, listed that as their education. So I didn't attend school in India, so I'm not entirely sure, but is this higher secondary school equivalent to like a high school in the US? I'm assuming it is, these two.
So yeah,
Yes, Pooja.
actually what happens is in India, we usually mention the high school percentage and all because recruiters do have the interest to look on to the percentage one has achieved in the past before they've graduated when they are applying for a job. So yeah, typically what they require is someone to mention their 10th standard percentage as well as 12th standard, which is before they graduate. So yeah, that's why you'll find most of the resumes mentioning these.
Okay, that's interesting. That's really good information. So usually in the US, kind of like Jonathan said, we don't put high school information. But it looks like what you're saying in India, you do usually put your percentages, because it looks like this person had both their higher secondary. I'm not sure what SSLC and HSC, the difference between those two
So
are.
actually, it's for the 10th standard.
Okay, got it. 10th
She
and
has,
12th.
yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think my parents did something similar, so that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I guess so for, resumes in India, obviously, listen to Uday, leave that. He's done the whole schooling process there, so he knows how to do that part. If your resume's in the US, leave the high school stuff out.
But it's only restricted to the freshman people who are just getting into, like just those who have just graduated and just starting out to look for jobs and all. Once you have certain level of experience, you just have to get rid of it. You don't need.
Got it. And the CGPA, is this out of 10?
I think yes.
Yeah, precisely. It is about that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, good job to this person. It looks like they have a good CGPA. Yeah, so and then honors, I'll go through this one so we can get to more resumes. The member of Youth United Council of India, fundraising volunteer, vice president of the college chess club, led a team in software grid. So I would put this one first because it's most relevant to, software engineering. And then let's see, member of Youth United Council of India, I would put that second. And then I would put this one third, just to show, that empathetic, initiative-driven aspect. And then vice president of college chess club last. And if this isn't something that most people know, I would also put like one bullet point talking about, what that is. And certifications look good. If you can, I would also add a year to that. So like when you passed the NPTEL ML course, when you did the Google Data Analytics certification. An area of interest also looks good. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on, unless anyone else has any more comments or questions on this one. Okay, awesome. Let's move on to the next one. So resume number 2. Okay. All right, so just looking at this, shout out a couple of things that you notice, both good and bad. So we have their personal information here. We have the technical skills listed first. their software engineering applications, and their professional experience. And then their education. Mm-hmm. So very organized.
I'd say this is the best among all of the resumes that I've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
that we have received so far.
Yeah, just so for context, Uday was the one who went through all the resumes, so he's seen all of them. So he thinks this is his favorite one. Uday's favorite. Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, awesome. So if no one else has any more comments, I think it's unanimous in the fact that we really like this resume. The biggest thing I would change is the order of where all of this stuff is. So technical skills I wouldn't put at the top, actually. I would put probably, it's a toss-up between the software engineering applications and the professional experience. I would probably put the professional experience first, and then the software engineering applications, and then the technical skills, and then the education. Just because as soon as I see this resume, my eyes immediately glaze over the technical skills and go straight to the applications and professional experience. Because again, as a recruiter, I'm pretending to be a recruiter. That's, the most important thing to me. So once I'm able to read all of these things, it would be nice to then look at the technical skills to see like, okay, so just, to brush up on what they've used in the past. I want to just take a look at this. And it looks like they've done a really good job. It seems like they've done the research and understand how this process works. And the reason for that is because they've actually put in bold a lot of keywords that go through the ATS system. They're always looking for those keywords to optimize their resume search, right? So when you apply online, what happens is a recruiter doesn't necessarily look at it right away because a lot of companies, especially big tech companies, get a lot of resumes. So what happens is they scan all of these resumes first for keywords. And if there's enough keywords and the keywords are relevant enough to the job, then they'll pass them on to a physical person, which is the recruiter. So if you don't even pass that first step, there's no point in making your resume look nice for the recruiter. So you always want to have quantifiable impact in your applications and in your experience. And by the way, I would probably call this software engineering projects instead of applications, just to make it very clear. And then, and professional experience is fine. Let's see. So real review, software engineer, collaborated with a team of 4. So this shows that they're able to collaborate in a team. Establish streamlined continuous integration using GitLab and Docker, developed. Yep, this is great. Implemented. I would add a little bit more information about impact, right? So they're really good at talking about the context of what's going on, but not necessarily driving it to the finish line and adding that impact. So this part, implemented PyTest unit testing to ensure 0% error functionality, that's really important. So that shows impact, right? 0% error is, incredible. So you want to add these impact aspects to your other bullet points. So establish streamlined continuous integration and deployment process using GitLab and Docker. But what did that do, right? Did that increase your efficiency? And how did that increase your efficiency? Developed an efficient sign up and login page, but why was it efficient, right? So you want to just add that extra step of what was the impact. So for Wheel Deal, boosted user interactions and page loads by 40%, perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for with single page application. Ensured secure data transfer by implementing a robust polling system. Polling system's also a good keyword because a lot of people use Kafka, for example, or Event Grid, which is part of Azure. Improved code quality. So again, improved code quality doesn't tell me anything. If you improved code quality by adopting TypeScript and switching from JavaScript, you can, quickly name a couple of reasons why TypeScript is better than JavaScript. And I also like that they have in gray the context of what this project is. So designed a dealership management system providing real-time functionality for sales. So here, real-time functionality. If they created a project that's real-time, and before it was more, synchronous, you can really hone in on that. So this polling system would be really important. You can talk more about how you use like a message queue system and why that's better. So you can say something like, because it was real time, we reduced the amount of time by 5 seconds per user for them to get this information, or by 10 seconds per user, something like that. And I know that takes a little bit of extra time to analyze it, but the fact that you did analyze it means that you also know how to sometimes put metrics or alerting in place, or you actually can assess why your code matters. And I think that's really important because, especially in your job, it doesn't matter what code you write as long as it impacts someone, as I said earlier. Okay, so we'll skip through this. Let's look at the professional experience. So they have the company, and then the location, their level, software engineer and residence, provide expert level guidance and support 270 plus junior engineers. Again, this is quantifiable, so that's great. Improving code fluency, readability, and best practices across a comprehensive tech stack. They've listed the entire tech stack. Drive impactful growth and skill development of junior engineers through engaging in pair programming sessions. This is great. Again, just add a little bit more impact here. Improved underwriting efficiency and accuracy for QBE customers across multiple insurance coverages, resulting in a 20% increase of customer acquisition. Again, this is exactly what we want to see, numbers. And usually the recruiter will try to follow up on these numbers and ask you how you found these numbers too. So make sure you also have an answer for that. So this looks great. Hack reactor, yep. And then their university, Bachelor of Science. I would actually put this before the hack reactor. And then their technical skills. When you're listing your programming skills, 1 to 3, again, is perfect. And you want to put the language that you're most comfortable with first. So front-end development, these are the frameworks and technologies that they used. Back-end development, system design. Great, looks good. So any questions or comments about this? I know I kind of went through this one really fast, but I just wanted to show that there's impact kind of listed in all of these sections. Okay, awesome. Should we move on to the next one? Can you guys hear me, by the way? Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go on to, these got out of order a little bit. We'll do number 3. Okay. So now it's up to you guys again. Just first glance, what do you think? So let's add this. No pictures. Okay, anything else before I get started on this one?
I see space section is too much cluttered.
Okay, so looking at this one, yes, it is very cluttered just because it looks like everything is kind of in the same font. There's no bolded words. I can see that. Oh yeah, go ahead. So like, for example, this professional summary, the education and the hard skills, those are probably going to be headers, but I don't realize that until I have to look very hard to understand that those are headers. So the first thing is, just like you've bolded this full-time remote, I would definitely bold, these words. Also, I'm not a big fan of the font. Actually, I see that there's different fonts used. So there's a different font used here than there is here. So I would also work on making that uniform. Let's see. So you have your personal information on the top, so that's perfect. You have your links, so portfolio, GitHub, LinkedIn, Infinity Studio Games. So again, if this is online, this would work perfectly, but if you're not able to actually view these links, which it looks like as a PDF, you are able to, so that should be fine. And then this, yes, I totally agree. I think this is not necessary. This is perfect for your portfolio. So for example, you have your portfolio linked. I would 100% add all of these projects with pictures on your portfolio. I just wouldn't add this on your resume. And I would pick probably 3 of your favorite projects and still have a project section and then just talk about those projects, kind of like in the last resume where you list your projects, talk about the impact, and talk about what you did. Like this one, this chess one looks really interesting to me, and maybe the Infinity Studio Games one, and then the screen recorder or one of your reaction games. I think that would be really interesting if you added that there, because this is really great. It seems like you have a lot of projects. The only thing is you want to be able to showcase it. So let's see, with the professional summary is really long. So you don't need to have a very long professional summary. And sometimes, this is the UK, so maybe it's a little bit different, but sometimes you don't even need to have a professional summary at all. So you're a professional that's achieved a bachelor's in software engineering. Yeah, so the reason I say that is because you already have your education here. So you're kind of just repeating that information, and you want to make it as concise as possible. So you were using the social care system CMS in UK at 2 councils and university. I've studied software programming concepts and have been exposed to programming languages in OOP design, algorithms, and data structures. Database architecture. I have experience of delivering customer support via a help desk and providing effective solutions to identified problems. I have a passion for IT and strive to perform at the highest standard in roles. So if you do end up keeping this professional summary, you can actually remove the delivering customer support part. You can remove the education part and say I have experience. You can talk about actually the support for social workers as part of your work experience. So I would just remove the professional summary. So I would have your personal information, and then I would have your education, and then I would have your work experience. And then after that, I would put your skills. And the hard skills and soft skills take up, honestly, most of the resume. And I don't think we need to be taking up most of the resume. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we don't want repeated information for sure. And as Jonathan was talking, another thing that I noticed is you have your soft skills listed kind of vertically, but you have your hard skills listed horizontally. So you want to stick to one thing. I would pick vertical, but I wouldn't have as many soft skills. So kind of like the resume we looked at like 2 resumes ago, I wouldn't do, all of these things because you can showcase this in your projects and in your work experience. So in the work experience, I would add quantifiable information, right? There's not a lot of quantifiable information or impact. So I would spend a lot more time making these 2 sections bigger, and you can use these adjectives in these sections, if that makes sense. You can kind of combine it so it's assumed that you have these skills or these soft skills. And then with hard skills, again, you can do what the last resume did, which is have your back-end skills, front-end skills, or like you can do languages and then frameworks and then have them listed horizontally. But right now it's kind of just a mix of all technologies, and it's a little bit confusing to read. Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. Like here, for example, you're using third person, it looks like. Excuse me, you're using third person, but then here you're using first person. So yeah. And that I know that's sometimes hard. If English isn't people's first language, you're writing a resume in English, I totally understand that it's a lot more difficult, and it's the part of the process that's probably your least favorite too, because you just want to code, you want to build things. But yeah, great start. I think these projects are going to be stars as long as you put them on your portfolio and you talk more about them inside of your resume. All right, so let's go on to the next one. So we're on 4. Okay, so remember, some of the stuff has been redacted, so this stuff has been kind of removed. But first impressions. Yeah, let's see. Is there any? I'm guessing it's India.
So this resume is actually from India. Someone from India has been suggested.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Someone from India has made this resume.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't really hear well. Do you want to type it in the chat, Uday, and then maybe Jonathan can say what you're trying to say? But I do think it's in India because it looks like this person's native language is Tamil, unless they've moved, obviously. Yep, for sure. Any other comments on this one?
You mean now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better.
actually, when it comes to recruiters in India, they don't actually prefer this particular sort of format that you are seeing just now. We do prefer the format we just saw a couple of resumes ago, which I termed as to be the best one, because ultimately they are just gonna skim through the experiences section, maybe the projects if you have no experience, and the skill part, whatever technical skills one have. Those parts are actually mostly seen by a recruiter when they are going through certain job profiles.
You cut out a little bit, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. So the original one that you like the best, that's typically what you said recruiters in India are looking for. Like this isn't quite the format they're looking for. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the first impression that you're giving to a recruiter, so it is kind of important to make a really good first impression. Now, one thing I will say, I don't know what these photos are. I'm assuming it's going to be a photo of the person in terms of contact, education. I don't know what that's going to look like. I would just remove the photos. I don't think I would use photos. On top of that, all of this, I would move to the left because it's, or what you can do is if you remove this photo, this will be more centered, and then it should be okay if some of this information is on the left and then this part is on the right. I will say though, so learning experience, these are self projects and self-learning. Okay, so I'm assuming this person hasn't had internships or, on the job experience. So if that's the case, again, I would make your self projects seem like projects that you've actually been able to interact with customers or projects where you've been able to collaborate with other people. And if you haven't, I would maybe start doing that and adding that to your resume. So kind of like Jonathan said, this is it looks like a paragraph. There's a lot of information. And it's nice that you've bolded this part. Again, I don't understand what the difference is between learning experience and projects. When you talk about your projects, so it just says data structure and algorithm. I'm not sure what that means, right? So you want to talk more about like what does that mean? And if you describe these projects more, it'll take up more room organically, so you can actually make this a lot smaller too. And you can try to break this up into 2 different experiences if that's possible. So here, oh yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. So if the learning experience is more what you did in school, I would make that a lot smaller, and I would almost call that skills, and talk about different skills that you've learned. But this projects, if you don't have internships and job experience, I would highly recommend emphasizing this and talking a lot more about it, talking about the impact. What is this LinkedIn clone using Redux? What did you do? How long did it take? Who did you impact? What tech stack did you use? Things like that. And then in terms of skills, yeah, because you don't have a skills section, or I guess you do, technical skills. Technical skills. So you don't have to list out learn
Hi.
when you, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, this is my resume. This is Marudhu Pandian. Actually, I don't have any hands-on domain experience.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. If you don't have any hands-on experience, then I would put your projects first, like Jonathan said. But I wouldn't just put your projects like this. I would, you know what you've done here? I would do the opposite. So I would put a lot more information on what are these projects, right? Like give more information and details about what you did. Especially if you collaborated with other people, or you deployed any of these projects, that's really important for employers to know.
Yeah, actually I did not deploy any application. The whole application my local devices only in GitHub also.
Yeah, that's fine. You can still talk about it. You can still talk about the process, why you built it, because again, the why is really important, and people don't realize that. Learning the skills is also very important, but the bigger thing is what problem are you solving, right? So just talk about that stuff. You don't have to list out MERN because the employer will know what MERN stack is. You can just list out Mongo, Express, React, Node, without explicitly saying MERN. And then HTML5, I wouldn't put the brackets because I don't think the ATS system will understand what that is. So I would just say HTML5, CSS3. And certifications, I would just put the year that you got the certification. And then, yeah, it's fine to have your languages because I know sometimes you're going to be applying in other countries. And then I would remove these pictures, like I said earlier.
Yeah, okay. Fine.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to resume number 5. We don't have that much time. Okay, so what are people's initial reactions? Mhm. Are you talking about the GitHub profile up here? Is there another? Yeah, I think they've linked the project, I'm assuming. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't wanna hover too much because it has the names of the people. So not to hover too much. And correct me if I'm wrong, Uday. So I'm pretty sure IIT is like a really good school in India, right? It's like an Ivy League type of school.
Yeah, they are the top.
So this one is actually triple IT. So IIT is the most prominent ones that you'll like compare it with the Ivy League schools. This one comes like into tier two schools, which are kind of catered by the government, but they are below IITs. So
Okay.
they are good, but they are not at level of the IITs.
Okay,
I think
gotcha.
he's using the college format also. They provide.
Okay, got it. But this is
So
still
we
pretty.
have like first is like IITs, then we have NITs. IITs is Indian Institute of Technology. Then we have NITs like National Institute of Technology, and then we have triple ITs, which is
Got
Indian Institute of Information Technology.
Okay, gotcha. So employers, I mean, they like to see the triple ITs, right? Those are pretty good schools.
Yeah,
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 actually.
pretty much.
Okay. So just also based on my parents' experience, you know, it probably is important to have your university if you are going to a good university, obviously. So I think, you know, I think the picture thing, people are back and forth on it. I think this is tasteful. This is fine to have the picture like this, because you don't have a bunch of random pictures everywhere else. So I think this is okay. I don't know how the ATS system would scan a picture though. I don't know what will come up there. And then as for PDFs, I'm seeing that the hyperlinks work, so that's fine, but just make sure that people know it's a hyperlink, because sometimes people won't hover over it. So like, make sure it's blue and it's highlighted, just like what a hyperlink looks like. So you have your school, your CGPA, and then your grad 2020. If I remember, they said it's to have your 10th standard information. So I would also add that as well, because you have your 12th and then you have your college experience. And then you have experience and projects, technical skills, interests. So for the most part, the first half of your resume, I think like the order of the things look really good. So your experience, for example, the solar secure solutions, that's great. And then you have your projects after that. However, I would add a lot more information on this internship. So you say completed data set collection, testing, and analysis tasks on projects named Fake News Detector and Credit Card Fraud Detection Project. I mean, that sounds really cool to me. I want to learn more. So I think you should definitely put more information. What tech stack did you use, right? So you said you used Python for the predictive analytics part. Wow, tongue twister. But I would talk about impact, right? So talk about who did this affect? How many people did it help? Or what were you able to find? What tech stack did you use? Who did you collaborate with? All of these things. Talk about, design concepts. What kind of design concepts did you utilize to build this? So that's really important. And employers will definitely want to see that. So the projects, it looks like you're really passionate about your projects because you've actually put more information about that here. So you talked about artificial neural networks, machine learning, deep learning. This is great. This is also really important right now, right? Because AI has gotten a lot more mainstream. So artificial neural networks. I would also add artificial intelligence as a keyword. And if you are someone who's building projects using AI, I would, if you have time, build something with ChatGPT, because obviously that's also very mainstream right now. I would try to utilize that. So this project uses machine learning. Yep. So again, you're just giving context. Oh, so here we go. The model after training and testing has an accuracy of 96%. This is perfect. It's quantifiable. You're giving an exact percentage on how accurate it is. So do the same thing here, right? Add your impact, add quantifiable results. Technical skills and interests, this should go last. This isn't a technical skill, but it's important that you know English, right? I would put Hindi first because you're a native speaker of Hindi. Soft skills, again, this shouldn't go first. You want to put programming languages first, and then probably frameworks, and then developer tools, platforms, cloud databases. So all of this stuff should go before your languages and soft skills. I don't think you need to put this. And then these look fine. Just add the years, right? So what year did you complete the MATLAB on-ramp, and what year did you do the rest of these? And then same with this as well.
Hey Pooja, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Rohit this side. I was wondering, I have a question regarding the project section. And it's very common in all of the resumes. Like, I have that thing in my resume too. Actually, is it necessary to put the hyperlinks in each of the projects in the resume? Because I think it's take a lot of space. And what if I just put the GitHub link at the top of the resume? Like, will the recruiter go and check every of my projects are there in the GitHub link or not? Or they will just go to individual hyperlinks, or what they think? What is the ATS system go out, or what is that thing goes in the recruiter's mind actually regarding the projects? If I don't provide the hyperlink to each and every of the projects actually.
So most likely they'll never click on any links until you're in the process. So when they're just looking at resumes for the first time, try to put your most interesting and most informative information on the resume itself. Most recruiters won't click on any of the links. Now, if you're, one of 1,000 candidates that gets chosen, like there's 10 candidates that get chosen and they're all really good, they'll usually use it as, a deciding factor at the end. They'll say, okay, let's look at their code. Let's look at how they, built their application. So this is more of an after the fact. And I would still add a hyperlink to your GitHub profile and your LinkedIn profile. Just make sure that you can click on it once you create a PDF. But yeah, I think initially they won't look at these links.
Yeah, and same thing for the personal experience also. Like, I'm putting everything about the personal experience, and that's quite good. But should I have to link any like a cloud link or something like that for the certificates and all? Like, how will it verify to the recruiters that I have worked, it's proven experience, I've worked there or something like that?
No, I
Like,
wouldn't
I've
put
done two internships and I haven't linked my like cloud drive about the certificates and all. I've genuinely linked too. But I was wondering like how the recruiters will go through like it's a verified proven experience or something like that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put any links on your resume for certificates. I would have a portfolio and put all of your links on your portfolio or your LinkedIn profile. So have that, you can have the information, you can have all the links, but you don't have to put all of it on this like first impression that you're showing recruiters, right? So you have these two hyperlinks, utilize those and put that information there or create a website or a
Like
portfolio.
all of my experience certificates and everything in the portfolio section, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But you can still, you
Thank you.
should still list your technical skills and you should still list your certificates. Just, yeah, you don't have to put the links.
Thanks for helping. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
just wanted to add one thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Uh, uh, if you just specifically look for project section, right? You should remove this GitHub thing that you mentioned because it is kind of misleading. It shows like you've worked for GitHub, so it should move on to the experience section, but it is in the project section. So instead, you just have to remove that. Plus, in the project section, whatever projects you have mentioned, right, you should uh, kind of like briefly explain what you've done. So if you have worked on a prediction model, right, what sort of approach that you've taken into consideration in order to solve that particular problem, you should mention that. Apart from that, you should also highlight what kind of accuracy you had in that particular model that you uh, like used in order to solve that particular issue or particular thing. Okay, so these two things you can add in order to like highlight more about these projects that you've done. And apart from that,
I would mute yourself if you're not muted. Jonathan, would you mind muting that person
uh,
if you can find them? Okay, thanks.
okay, so yeah, the couple of things that I mentioned, you can do that. Can you scroll down a bit, Pooja?
Mhm.
So yeah, apart from that, whatever training and certificates that you mentioned, recruiters wouldn't check on those things at the first instance. If they have received a resume, they won't check those things. They will only give like take a glance of that. They'll just look at it. They won't verify it at the very instant when they go through your resumes. So you can mention all of you have all of whatever you have pursued in that particular thing, but be sure that you have done those certifications. If you have not, you shouldn't mention them. So if you have mentioned, be sure that you have completed those certifications. Yeah, that's about it. Those were the only things that I wanted to highlight.
Awesome. Yeah, those are really great points. So we're over time. Unfortunately, we didn't get through all of this. I was gonna say what we can do, we'll put out a poll again for next time just to see if people want to continue with the second half of this. Maybe not next week. We may have someone else speaking next week, but at some point we'll try to resume this. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you want to do part 2 or do you kind of understand how to make a resume based on these explanations?
I definitely want a part two actually. That was really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. Enjoyed it.
Okay, awesome. And maybe I can try to do a part 2 on a Wednesday or Thursday or something so we can still have our speakers speak on Friday. We can figure out when people are free and do that. Awesome. Well, Jonathan's going to be doing a session on Friday next week. Is that correct? Right? Next week? Okay. So we won't be able to do it then, but what I could do is either I can do it after his session, or I can do it, sometime during the week next week. Cool. Okay, well, I'm glad. Yeah, a lot of people want a part 2. I'm glad you guys found this useful. I think it's really great to look at these resumes. And to be honest, no matter how much we roast these resumes, my resume was worse than all of your guys' resumes when I first started making mine. So you guys are off to a really good start. Okay.
Also, if people are wanting a part 2 of this, you can send us your resume as well. Like I said, we are very sort of aware about your confidentiality and stuff. So we'll remove everything which is like sort of personal details that you've explicitly mentioned over there. So we'll mask that. But yeah, if you want, you can send out your resumes as well, so that we can review them.
Yeah, the more the merrier. I'm just gonna actually open up that other resume quick that we liked, just so you guys can see which one was it. I think it was number 2, right? Yeah. So this is one that we unanimously decided was probably one of the best resumes. Of course, there's things to change here, but if you guys want to quick take a look again and see what a really good resume looks like. Awesome. Well, any questions? I know someone had a question in the beginning, so I can also answer that question. I don't know if you're still online. Okay. Yeah, I think you might have left. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. We'll try to plan for a part 2, and like they said, send over your resumes to him if you want to get it roasted. I think he has the link somewhere in the announcements page. So yes, we'll try to review everyone's in part 2. If not, we'll even have a part 3. And I did like that some people kind of spoke up and they were like, oh yeah, this is my resume. So if you're okay with other people knowing that that's your resume, feel free to ask personal questions in these sessions too, because we can give you direct answers. This is kind of the time to do it. So
this session's recorded.
oh, say that again. Oh yeah. So
okay, thanks.
all the sessions get uploaded to I have a second YouTube channel, so I upload them there. And then I'm going to start uploading them to my website, and I'll send you guys the website soon too. I'm still working on building it, so it'll be ready by this weekend. So Rohit, you can send your resume. So on the announcements channel, they has sent a link where you can upload your resume. And if you can't find it, just tag one of us and we can help you. All right, I gotta get back to work, so I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Pooja.
Yeah, Pooja. Have a nice one. Bye.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Bye.